The golden quarries of Aswan hold a secret that defies modern engineering. A titan of stone lying in the bedrock that challenges everything we thought we knew about the ancient world. If this monument had been raised, it would have stood over 140 feet tall and weighed nearly 1,200 tons, making it heavier than two Boeing 747s carved from a single, solid piece of pink granite. This is the Unfinished Obelisk, a frozen moment of industrial catastrophe that offers us a window into the absolute limits of human ambition. For centuries, tourists and scientists have looked down into this trench and asked the same question. How did the pharaohs intend to move a mountain? And why did they leave it behind? The story begins during the 18th dynasty under the reign of the legendary Queen Hatshepsut, a ruler obsessed with legacy who wanted to gift the god Amun-Ra something the world had never seen. An obelisk was not just a decoration. To the Egyptians, it was a petrified ray of the sun god himself, and it had to be a monolith one, single stone with no joints. This symbolic requirement made the project a logistical nightmare. Her master builders traveled hundreds of miles south to Aswan, searching for a vein of granite pure enough and large enough to satisfy the queen's ambition. When they found this site, they weren't just looking at a rock. They were looking at a challenge to the laws of physics. Imagine the scene at the quarry 3,000 years ago, where thousands of workers swarmed over the pink granite under a sun that reaches 110 degrees. There were no iron chisels here because iron was too soft to dent granite. Instead, the Egyptians used a technology that seems primitive but was incredibly effective. Dolerite bowls. These are small, spherical stones found in the desert that are harder than granite. The workers would stand in narrow trenches for months, rhythmically pounding the granite to crush the stone into fine dust. It is estimated that a worker could only remove about 5 millimeters of stone per hour, meaning the sound in the quarry was a constant, soul-crushing thud that lasted 4 years. As the trenches went deeper, the engineering became even more complex. The builders had to ensure the obelisk was perfectly straight, using water levels and plumb bobs with a precision that rivals modern lasers. Every inch of the surface was inspected for flaws by royal scribes. But as they neared the final stage, preparing to separate the bottom of the obelisk from the bedrock, disaster struck. A massive crack shot through the center of the granite with a sound like a thunderclap. In an instant, years of labor and millions of tons of extracted rock became worthless. The crack made the stone structurally unsound, and if they had tried to lift it, the monolith would have snapped in two, likely crushing hundreds of men. Even in its failure, the mystery of transport remains one of history's greatest puzzles. Moving 1,200 tons of stone out of a deep pit and onto the Nile River would require a miracle. Some engineers believe the Egyptians used massive sand ramps, slowly filling the quarry with sand to float the stone upward on sledges. Others point to the use of heavy wooden rollers and thousands of men pulling in perfect sync. The logistical planning for the barge alone is staggering. They would have needed a ship twice the size of any other vessel in the ancient world, timed perfectly, with the annual flooding of the Nile to give them enough buoyancy to carry the Titan to the Temple of Karnak. The Unfinished Obelisk was never raised, but it is far from a failure. Because it was abandoned in mid-construction, it serves as a frozen blueprint, showing us the marks of the Dolerite tools, the measurement systems of the scribes, and the sheer scale of Egyptian ambition. It stands as a reminder that the pharaohs did not just build monuments, they conducted massive industrial experiments. They were a people who believed that with enough willpower, even the hardest stone on earth could be made to reach for the heavens. Today, as it lies silent in the Aswan quarry, the Unfinished Obelisk tells us more about the spirit of Egypt than any finished monument ever could, representing a dream that was simply too big for the world to hold.